Greetings, Internet friends. AJ here from 8-Bit Horse, and today I wanted to talk to you about a new addition to the game room. Recently, my parents were in town, and one of the things they like to do, when we're not just running around like crazy people, is to check out antique shops. I don't do really much or any of that when they're not in town, but I do enjoy going and doing that because I'm always on the lookout for some vintage video game stuff. You know, there's lots of cool things. Like, I like old Mario toys, especially the ones that predate sort of the new model, like they're chunky fat Mario toys or Pac-Man stuff. I've picked up a few things over the years from these places. So I'm always on the hunt for something new and interesting to add to the game room, something to add a little more flavor. There's one thing that I see when people do these game room tours and they show off their wonderful collections, and you know, you get a little jealous and salivate and go, ah, man, I wish I had that. One thing that I'm always jealous of when I see is anybody who's got these vintage, like 70s and 80s TVs, like these, like I like the space helmet looking one, anything with like really bright colors, like just obnoxious looking televisions. I always look at those and think, man, wouldn't that be cool to have something like that in the game room? And I do have a CRT television in the game room, like my Nintendo and Super Nintendo and all that stuff, you know, Genesis, all the classic systems are hooked up to the CRT, and that's a great way to play. But here, when my folks were in town, I found something new and fun to add to the game room, and that is a bright red 9-inch Zenith color television from the mid-'80s, and it's a thing of beauty. So the thing works really well. All the settings, there's a whole bunch of settings that you can adjust along the bottom for brightness and color and everything else, and whoever had the TV before did a pretty good job tweaking everything. I tweaked it a little bit more because I'm not planning on watching any television on it. I'm just going to play video games. And on the back, there's just a hookup for an antenna, and there's a coaxial input, and that's all there is. So I got a pretty good price on this, partially because you can't get TV through an analog signal anymore, so the antenna doesn't pick up anything. You would have to have something that you would plug in through coax. And the thing is, though, I don't have anything really that hooks up through coax. All of my old systems, even the classic systems, are either composite or S-video. Everything that supports S-video I've got hooked up that way. And so I really thought, well, I don't have anything natively that hooks up to coax, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this. And then I remembered I have a top-load 8-bit Nintendo, and the original style Nintendo actually has composite outputs, so you can hook it up to, you know, those inputs on the TV. But the updated version, the cheaper, slimmed-down version that they did, the top-loaded one, does not have those outputs. It only has coax. They did that to save money. So this top-load NES I've had for a while, and one of the things I've always been disappointed is it only has a coaxial output. I know you can mod them to, you know, do a regular composite output or whatever else, but I never did that. I never did the hassle with it. And I still have the original Nintendo that has the composite outputs. So I had it hooked up, but it was kind of disappointing because there's a little bit of signal noise in there when you have a coaxial input compared to some of the other output formats. So it was like, it was nice, but it wasn't wonderful. So I thought, well, this would be the perfect thing to hook up to this little TV, and because the TV is pretty stylish and the top-load Nintendo it's a pretty charming style, right? It looks pretty nice. I thought if I leave that up on top, like the whole thing is a nice little set piece. So, you know, got the system, got a cartridge in there, got my NES Max. That is my preferred way of playing NES games, has been since I was younger. NES Advantage, NES Max were like the main tools that I used for my gaming back in the day. So I got the thing home. I actually did not hook it up there at the shop to make sure it did what it was supposed to do, but since it wasn't going to get a signal anyway, all I was going to see was snow at best. So took enough faith it was going to work out, brought it home, hooked it up, plugged in the Nintendo, adjusted it to play on channel 3. So every time you start the TV up, it defaults to channel 2, so you have to flip it up to channel 3. The output, the video on this thing, is really nice. The colors are super bright. I've tried a few different games out in the system just to see how they looked. Everything's good. There's like a little bit of curvature around the edge like you used to see in the old CRTs. The one that I have in the game room here is a little bit larger and has less curving on the screen. So this little 9-inch one, it's kind of, I don't know, you get that little nostalgia feel in there. When I was a kid growing up, I played mostly on a 13-inch TV. That was the main TV that I had in my bedroom when I was a kid. So having this little 9-inch one is kind of neat. It brings back the old memories. And of course I can pull out any of the other devices and hook it up to this. I'd have to step them down to a coax. So I'm not sure if I'll do that. I still have ways of playing the other classic games in a better format, I guess. But having this NES hooked up is really nice. I've got multiple controllers, so I can have some people over and play 2-player. I've got it sitting on a desk, so I can pull it up and pull the chairs around so we can sit and play, right up against it. I actually have a pretty decent NES collection. It's not, I don't have walls of NES games, but I've got pretty much almost all of my favorites from when I was growing up. So all of the games that were my favorites when I played. In general, I'm not collecting so that I can own every single game there is. I don't want to own crappy games, or I don't need complete box and manual and everything. I just want to be able to pull a fun game off the shelf and plug it in and play it. And this is just a fun way to do that. And it's a good centerpiece kind of thing. People come in the game room and they're like, what is that thing, right? Not many people have said that. I've only showed it to one person so far, but yeah, I get a kick out of just having it in here. It doesn't take up a lot of space, and it gives me kind of a fun new way to play my NES games. So that's pretty well it. I'm glad I got it. It's now I can stop looking for these classic weird looking TVs, although I might find that, if I find that Space Helmet one, I would probably get that. But anyway, it's fun and I like it, and that's the whole point. That's the whole reason we're doing all this gaming stuff anyway, is because it's such a good time. So that is it. Have fun, and we'll see you next time.